So now as you've got day one out of the way on the 5am Warrior, like I say, not going to be the hardest day, probably going to be one of the easiest days because you're hyped up and you're amped and you just want to do it. The hardest day is going to be the day when the rain is coming sideways. You've had a shit day the day before and you just don't feel like it. And that's the day when you're probably going to need it the most. So just remember that you get yourself out of bed on the day that you need it the most. The way I sort of look at these things now, and it's a similar way to how I look at when I'm in an ultra or an endurance event, and I think that I'm going to get pulled out, or I just can't go any further. Is I always ask myself, what is tomorrow Steve going to say to today's Steve if you take that action? And recently, when I was on an ultra, when I was on the spine, and I knew I was going to get pulled from that, I knew that tomorrow Steve was going to look back and go, that was the right decision. But I've been on other events and I've done other things where I've known that tomorrow Steve's going to look back and go, you should have carried on there. You had more in you. And that's the same with the 5am Warrior group as well. It's the same with getting up in the morning. You might miss a day, and then later on in that day or the next day, you're going to look back and thought, I could have actually just got out of bed. I could have had a better day today or a better day yesterday if I'd have just taken that action and just got myself out of bed. So what are some strategies for getting yourself out of bed? I harp on about this all the time, and one of the best strategies is making sure that you've prepared the night before. So if you're going to go for a dog walk in the morning, make sure that you've got all your stuff together. You've got your coat out, you've got your dog lead ready, you've got your wellies if you know it's going to be a muddy walk. Whatever you are going to need the next day, make sure you're prepared. And similarly, if you're going to go for a run in the morning, have your running kit laid out. Lay it out the night before. It will take you 2 minutes to go in the night before and just get your running top out and your shorts and your running shoes ready to go. Whereas in the morning, when you don't feel like it and you're fumbling about and your partner's in bed and you don't want to wake them, it's going to seem much, much harder, especially if the wind's battering against the window. The other strategy that I've got, and this is a secret even from myself, is to lie to myself. So if I know that I want to get up in the morning and I want to do a 5k, and I wake up in the morning and I really don't feel like doing that 5k, what I will do is just tell myself I'm going out for 10 minutes. Just go out for 10 minutes. Get yourself out of the door and just do 10 minutes. And do you know what? If you just do that 10 minutes, at least you've done something. At least you've won that battle in the morning, and at least you've started your day off properly. But if you don't, and generally this is what happens to me, I go out for that 10 minutes, I'm out for 4 or 5 minutes, and I think I might just carry on doing my 5k now, and you'll just carry on and do it, because the brain is a funny thing, and it will believe you if you say, look, I'm just going to go out, I want to do 10 minutes, I want to do a mile, I'm just going to do something, I'm just going to get myself out the front door, I'm just going to do some stretches. The hardest part is getting your kit on and getting out the front door. So if you can just do that, if you can just get out and you can just tell yourself you're only going to do that small amount, which is still something, if that's all that you do, then at least you've got out and you've owned the day, and things will just snowball from there. If you start your day off on a good positive note, things will tend to snowball. And I'm not going to say that everything's going to go right and it's all going to be, sunshine and rainbows for you all day, but the fact is that when shit comes at you, you're going to be able to deal with it better, because you've started the day off on a winner, and you've not started the day off by just pressing that snooze button and losing and failing at the first hurdle. Why not just carry on? What have you got to lose by just getting up, getting out the door and getting something done? Pillar one is movement, and as we move through the days and we move through the weeks, then I'll introduce the other pillars in a little bit more depth, but we know what they are already because I've already explained them in the video. So pillar one is movement, then there's clarity, headspace, whatever you want to call it, there's personal development, and there is connection. So try and just fit those in and just do something as regards those different pillars as we move through week one. As we move into week two, we'll then talk more about pillar two, the same with week three and the same with week four, and then it's just rinse and repeat, and we just carry on doing it and we just carry on holding ourselves accountable and bring more people into this community. Cheers.